Hey, what's up, guys? Today we have the Tigers at the Naps, and this is the 7th and 8th place team playing here in the American League. Normally I wouldn't play this game, but because things are so tight, we might as well, because these teams are still technically in the running. And so here is Germany Schaefer for the Tigers, and he rolls a 42 for a 13, and he strikes out against Addy Joss to lead this off, one away. And here's Matty McIntyre. He rolls a 25 for an 8. That's a pop fly over to Bradley at third base for the second out. And here is Ty Cobb. Joss with that A, and he is a 2-1 so far this season, 2.1 ERA, and he's a big part of the reason why the Naps have won anything. And Cobb rolls a 36 for a 33. That's a pop-up over to Lejoie, to Napoleon Lejoie in second base. And we go to the bottom of the first, Josh Clark now, and he rolls a 33 for an 8. That's a ground ball over to the shortstop. Schaefer throws to first for the out, one away, and here is Napoleon. He rolls a 12 for 24. It's a ground ball over again to Schaefer, throws to first for the out, two away. And it is George Stovall. He rolls a 16 for a 28, or 26 rather. That's a ground ball to Downs, who throws to first for the out. We go to the top of the second just like that. And it is Bosch Schmidt up there for the Tigers. He rolls a 22 for a 7. That's a single to right, first hit of this ball game. That'll bring up Sam Crawford, and Crawford rolls a 55 for a 7, and that is against the A ground ball to third base. Bradley has it, throws to first for the out. Schmidt moves up to second, and here's Claude Rossman, and there are two chances for the Tigers to knock this run in. Rossman rolls a 14 for a 43. We do have a little E-roll, and it's going to be a 24 right outside the range. That's a little pop-up over to Clark in left field for the second out. Bill Coughlin now, and he rolls an 11 for a 7. This time, that is a single that will score the run, put Coughlin on at first, and it's 1-0 Tigers. Bad luck for Addy Joss there. Red Downs now rolls a 51 for a 9, and that's another single against Joss. It's interesting that 9 against an A with a runner on first is a single. Puts runners on first and second here for Ed Summers. Normally I would bunt, but I'm not going to do that with 2 outs. And Summers rolls a 34 for a 44. That's a fly ball over to center field. Birmingham has it for the out. We go to the bottom of the second, and here is Clark, the catcher. He rolls a 61 for a 36, changed to a 39. That is going to be a strike, as the game is trying to look up the boards and had a little bit of a snooze. Clark now rolls a 43 for a 29. That is a comebacker over to Summers, who makes the play and throws over to first for the out. Fortunately, I know this off the top of my head, because I don't know if Windows is updating or what. I wish I could stop Windows from updating. There's no need for it to. Up next is Bradley, rolls a 56 for a 34, and here is the little E-roll. This time the roll's a 14 within the range. That's going to change to a 22. That is an error on Summers. And Cleveland has a runner on base here for George Perring. Perring rolls a 42 for a 32. It's a fly ball over to right field. And Cobb has it for the out, 2 away, and it's Joe Birmingham. He rolls a 26 for a 30. That's a fly ball over to center field. It's Crawford who has it for the out. We go to the top of the third. Germany Schaefer now, and he rolls a 45 for a 14. That is a ball against the double Z Joss. I'm sorry, that is 2 balls. And we're going to have another roll, and it's a 45 for a 14 again. And so he gets 2 more balls and goes on to first base. That'll bring up McIntyre. Schaefer does have that 11, so we're going to hit and run. I know it's dangerous against the A. Matty McIntyre up there rolls a 56 for a 34, and that is not what we wanted to see happen. That's a line drive over to Perring. Perring snatches that one out of the air, throws over to Stovall covering first for the double play, and here comes Ty Cobb with nobody on. Cobb rolls a 24 for a 31. That's a little fly ball over to center field. Birmingham has it for the out, and we go to the bottom of the third. It's Bill Hinchman. Hinchman rolls a 42 for a 22, changed to a 15, and that's going to be a fly ball over to McIntyre in left field for the first out. It's Addy Joss now. Josh rolls a 53. See if I can type my numbers right. That's changed to a 17. From a 21, that's a fly ball to right field. Cobb has it for the out, 2 away, and here is Josh Clark. He rolls a 53 for a 15, changed to an 18. That'll be an error. That's going to be an error on the shortstop Schaefer. We've had nothing but error rolls here in this inning. Second error on the Tigers so far. Lejoie up there, and he rolls a 26 for a 27. That's a ground ball to Coughlin, who makes the play and flips it on over to the second baseman Downs. We go to the top of the fourth inning, quick moving game. Bosch Schmidt up there rolls a 65 for a 35. Here is the little E-roll, and it's a 14. Another error in this one that's changed to 19. That'll be an error on the third baseman Bradley, and that puts a runner on first base with nobody out for Sam Crawford. We'll just swing ahead, and he rolls a 32 for a 26. That's a ground ball over to Napoleon, who flips over to Perring at second base for the out. I'll bring up Claude Rossman with the runner on at first base, and Crawford not quite fast enough for me to be confident in the hit and run, and Rossman rolls a 56 for a 34. Thankfully, we didn't have that on. It would have been another double play. That's a pop-up over to Perring for the second out, and here's Bill Coughlin. Rolls a 16 for a 26. That's going to be a ground ball again to Lejoie. Flips it on over to Perring, and we go to the bottom of the fourth. George Stovall rolls a 53 for a 19, change to 17. That's a fly ball over to right field. Cobb has it for the out, one away. Here's Clark, and he rolls a 12 for a 25. Here is a little E roll, and it's a 36 out of the range. It's going to be a ground ball over to the second baseman Downs. Throws to first for the out, 2 away, and it's Bill Bradley who rolls a 31 for a 9. That's a little pop-up over to Coughlin at third base. We go to the top of the 5th, and it's Red Downs. Downs rolls a 64 for a 29. Comebacker to Joss. Throws to first for the out, 1 away, and it's Ed Summers. He rolls a 52 for a 27. That is a ground ball over to Bradley at third base. Throws to first for the out, 2 away, and it's Germany Schaefer who rolls a 22 for an 8. That is a ground ball, this time to the shortstop Pairing. He throws to first for the out. We go to the bottom of the 5th, and it is George Pairing. He rolls a 44 for an 8. There's a single to left center field. First hit of the game for the Cleveland Naps. That'll bring up Birmingham. And he rolls a 44 for an 8. That'll be another hit. Runners on first and second now, and that'll bring up Hinchman, the number 8 hitter, who's going to bunt, of course. Runners on at first and second. Nobody out here for Cleveland, down by a run. And his roll is a 62 for a 12, and there is a little E to worry about. And this time it's a 36, and so that's going to be out of the range. That ends up being a strikeout as he bunted that third pitch foul, and that'll bring up Addy Joss. Still runners on at first and second, and here comes another bunt attempt. And it's a 21 for a 13, which will be a foul strike. The next roll by Joss is a 13 for a 23, and that's not what you want to have happen. That is a bunt back to Summers, who throws over to third. Coughlin for 1, and Coughlin throws all the way over to Rossman at first for a double play. Not something you often see after a bunt. Really poor bunt there by Joss, who knocked that one straight back to the pitcher. Matty McIntyre now leads us off in the top of the 6th, and he rolls a 25 for an 8. That's a ground ball over to shortstop Pairing. Throws to first for the out, 1 away, and here is Ty Cobb, who rolls a 36 for a 33. It's a pop-up over to Napoleon for the second out. Schmidt now rolls a 51 for an 8, and that's a fly ball, over to Birmingham in center field. Go to the bottom of the 6th, and it's going to be Clark, who rolls a 61 for a 40. It changes to a 36. That's a ball. His next roll is a 44 for an 8, and that's going to be a single, and then he is caught stealing. As I said before, you don't like to see it, but it is realistic. Here's Napoleon. He rolls a 64 for a 22. That's going to be a comeback over to Summers, who boots it, and that's a third error on the Tigers. We're going to do some hitting and running. Let's see if Cleveland can punish them, and it's a 22 for an 8. That's a single sending Napoleon to third. Runners at first and third here with only 1 out. Infield comes in. They're going to hit and run with Clark. And his roll is a 64 for a 13, and that's not what you want to see because that is a strikeout, and that means that the runner on at first base is thrown out trying to steal, and so we go to the top of the 7th, strike him out, throw him out, and that's what happens when you're playing with fire. Sam Crawford here, top of the 7th, rolls a 31 for an 8, and that's a ground ball over to shortstop. Pairing has it, throws to first for the out, 1 away. Rossman now rolls a 66 for a 0. Rossman's next roll is a 43 for a 6, and that's going to be a double to right center field, and that'll bring up Coughlin. Coughlin with the runner on at third base is going to bunt. He rolls a 66. I shouldn't have done that. 66 is the first roll. The next one is a 35 for a 6. I would have scored the runner. Instead, it's a bunt to the left side, and it's going to be Bradley who has it. Throws over to Napoleon, covering at the bag. And there's 2 away now, runner on at third base. You live by the bunt, you die by the bunt. 62 is the roll for Downs, and that's going to be a potential little E roll. Let's see. 24 just out of the range. That ends up being a fly ball over to right field, and it's Hinchman who has it for the out. We go to the bottom of the 7th. Bill Bradley up there now rolls a 24 for a 13 strikeout. Strikeout number 3 for Summers, 1 away. George Pairing rolls a 32 for a 26. That's a ground ball over to Downs, who throws to first for the out, 2 away for Joe Birmingham. Rolls a 63 for a 30, and there's a fly ball over to left field, and it's McIntyre who has it for the out. We go to the top of the 8th. Ed Summers up there now, 1-0 Tigers. Summers' roll is a 52 for a 27. It's a ground ball to Bradley. Throws to first for the out, 1 away. Here's Schaefer. Schaefer rolls a 53 for an 18, changed to a 22. That's going to be a little ground ball over to Stovall, who flips over to Joss, covering of the bag for the out, 2 away. Here's McIntyre, and he rolls a 32 for a 26. That's a ground ball over to Napoleon, who throws to first for the out. We go to the bottom of the 8th, and it's still a 1-0 game for the Tigers. Hinchman rolls a 56 for a 34. That's a pop-up over to short. Schaefer has it for the first out, and it's Addy Joss, who rolls a 45 for a 14, and he takes his base on a walk. That was unusual, and here's Josh Clark, and the first walk given up by Summers. He rolls a 56 for a 34. That's a pop-up over to Schaefer for the second out, and here is Napoleon with a chance, and he rolls a 65 for a 35, and that's a little foul out to Schmidt, the catcher. We go to the top of the ninth inning, and here is Ty Cobb. Cobb is 0 for 3 today, hitting only .260 this season, and he rolls a 31 for an 8, and that's a ground ball, over to Paring. Throws to first for the out, one away, and here is Schmidt, who rolls a 23 for a 32. It's a fly ball over to right field. Hinchman has it for the out. 2 away, here's Sam Crawford, who rolls a 64 for a 13 and strikes out. We go to the bottom of the ninth inning, and it's George Stovall. Stovall rolls a 51 for an 8, and there's a base hit for Stovall. And for really the first time in this game, we have something that's even approaching a highlight. That will bring up. There we go. Sorry, I keep getting knocked off by this stupid thing that will change the playing card that is displayed automatically. I've complained about that before. It's a feature I don't particularly like. I haven't really looked that closely to see what I can do to turn it off. But I consider it to be pretty useless, and all it does is it interferes with my ability to take screenshots. And so now there's a runner on a first base with nobody out for Cleveland. Stovall does not have that 11. And this is where we say, okay, do we hit away with Clark? Clark is 0 for 3 today. Do we bunt with him? What does Bradley look like? Bradley looks sort of like this. Clark has, I think, the better card. Yes, he does with that 7 on 22. So I think we're going to swing away with Clark, but we're not going to send Stovall. And the roll is a 55 for an 8. That was the right thing to do, and that will put runners on at first and third. And now the Tigers really, really have it ahead of them. And let's see if the Cleveland team can win this game. So Clark goes up there and he gets the base hit in the clutch situation, and that puts runners at the corners. Here's Bill Brandley. The infield comes in. Clark, is he fast enough? I don't think so. He doesn't have that 11. And that's the reason why I'm nervous about that when we run a hit and run, is because he can be thrown out stealing on like a 14. So here's Bradley. The infield comes in. He's going to swing away, and he rolls a 61 for a 39, and that's going to change to 36, and that is a stolen base by Clark anyway. And so that's kind of what you want to see happen. This is giving me the wrong screenshot again. My apologies. Let's do this one more time. 61 for 39 changes to 36 automatically, and you can imagine that's a little bit frustrating when you're playing this game and you're like, what happened to my roll? How come it changed? But it would be nice if sort of the mechanics behind that were shown for us, but I'm not sure if Bill wants to do that or not. Now, the question is, do we pitch to Bradley or do we walk him and pitch to Paring? I think we're going to walk him. I think that we kind of have to do that, and there is the intentional walk button. And so we walk him, and we do want to issue the intentional walk. And the roll would have been a 25, which would have been an 8. That would have been the end of the ball game. There we go again. I'm sorry, it was doing that once again, and it did it again. All right, there we go. I don't understand why we have this system. I don't, because it doesn't do any good for us. So the bases are loaded now after that intentional walk. I guess every single game you play with, every piece of software you have is going to have something wrong with it and something that drives you nuts. But yeah, in this case, that definitely drives me nuts. That'll bring a Paring here with the bases loaded and nobody out. Infield comes in, and this is sort of desperation time. Here's the roll. It's a 54 for a 34, or for a 45, I'm sorry, and that is a fly ball to right field. Cobb has it for the out, but that is deep enough to score the runner. That will score one. There's one out now, and we have a tie ball game as Paring is able to get the ball hit deep enough to right field to make something happen. And now it's a 1-1 ball game with one out. And up next is Birmingham, and you have to have the infield in. Birmingham really not much of a hitter. Clark is not very fast, so we don't want to bunt because of the fear that something crazy is going to happen. So we're going to go ahead and swing away with Birmingham. Bradley, I guess we could call a hit and run if we wanted to. We could. Let's do that. Let's call a hit and run here so that we can get something out of this and avoid the double play. Infield is in. Hit and run is on. The roll is a 36 for a 33. And that is that line drive over to the second baseman Downs, who throws over to Rossman at first to complete the double play. That is the one bad thing that can happen when you run the hit and run in that situation. And so as a result, the Naps have a golden opportunity to score with only one out, runners on first and third in a 1-1 ball game, and they miss it. we go to the top of the 10th inning, and here is Claude Rossman, and this has become exciting all of a sudden. Rossman rolls a 25 for an 8, and that's a ground ball over to shortstop Herring, who throws to first for the out, one away. Here's Coughlin, and he rolls a 14 for 43. That's going to be a little, he rolls 56, so that'll be a fly ball over to left field. Clark has it for the out. There's 2 down, and here's Downs. He rolls a 34 for the 44. That's a fly ball over to Birmingham in center. We're in the bottom of the 10th just like that. Here is Bill Hinchman for Cleveland, and he rolls a 42 for a 22. Changed to an 18, and that's going to be an error again on the shortstop Schaefer. 5th error of this ball game, 4th error for the Tigers, and that will bring up who? Let's see. Let me just make sure here that this one came correctly, and it did not, of course. We want to see Hinchman there. Apologies once again, and I'm really, really starting to get frustrated with the way that this thing works. I need to get this turned off. This is not helpful. So there is a runner on first base now for Joss, and it's in the person of Bill Hinchman, and we're going to bunt, of course, with Joss. There's not much else we can do with him. Joss 0 for 2 today, by the way, and did hit into a double play. He did walk once. And the roll is a 45 for a 14, which is a ball against the Z. We're going to try it again. And his roll is a 21 for a 13, which is a foul strike. So 1-1 is the count now. Another try with Joss, and it's a 51 for a 14. We're going to try to bunt again. And this time it's a 45 again for a 14. So he's had 4 chances to bunt, and there's a 3-1 count on him. And the final roll is a 32 for a 26. And the game has to take a little while to think about how this is a bunt over to the right side. And it's going to be Rossman who has it, flips it over to Downs, who's covering at first base. And that moves Hinchman up to second. So a couple of kind of weird things going on here with the game so far today. There are times where the game works with you, and there are times when the game works against you. And this is definitely one of those times where the game's been working against me. Runner on at second base now, and we have 1 out here in the bottom of the 10th, and this is the scene is set for Josh Clark. Clark is 1 for 4 today. He's hitting 478. Ty Cobb is probably looking at him wondering what he has to be doing to a hit like that. Clark rolls a 54 for a 45, and that's going to be a fly ball over to right field. Cobb has that for the out, 2 away. And here is Napoleon, who rolls a 13 for a 36. That's going to end up being a wild pitch. And so the wild pitch now is called on Ed Summers, who's really been kind of struggling up there. Summers, by the way, is going to be leading off the 11th inning if we make it that far. So if we do, I'm going to replace him with a pinch hitter, and we'll have a relief pitcher out there. But, of course, if we don't get there, then we don't get there, and we're not going to put a relief pitcher in there now. Here is Napoleon again. He rolls a 24 for a 13, and that's going to be a strikeout. And so we are up to that situation, and we need to do what we need to do. And that means that there will be a pinch hitter coming up here for the Tigers. And this has been pretty exciting so far, hasn't it? 1-1 ball game going to the top of the 11th inning, and we'll see how far we can go. Now, you do know that this is 1908, which means that there's a chance that we can go really, really far into extra innings if we had to. There was a game I was reading about the other day. I think it was when I was doing the research on Harry Patty for the old Brooklyn Dodgers shortstop. There was a game he played in that went 17 innings, and that's where he finally hurt his knee, and that was the end of his career. Ira Thomas is going to be the pinch hitter here, and he rolls a 41 for a 28. That's a ground ball over to Perring, throws to first for the out, 1 away. Here is Schaefer. He rolls an 11 for a 0, and the second roll is a 46 for a 6, and that's going to be a double there for Germany Schaefer. And he does a good job leading things off, doesn't he? That means that the Tigers now, again, have 2 runners, or 1 runner on, a runner on second base is what I meant to say, with only 1 out. That'll bring up Matty McIntyre, and behind him is Ty Cobb, the last man in the world you want to see. McIntyre rolls a 12 for a 25, and that is a line drive over to Napoleon, who makes the play. Fortunately for Schaefer, he's fast enough to know to stay put. And I had the problem happen again. How about that? Anyway, you know, if you've been watching this for a while, that this tends to happen every time I play with this NP3 engine. There are 2 complaints I have about the engine. The one is the one that I told you about the other day, which is how the lineup creation system is just awful. This is the second one. This thing here needs to go. There's no purpose for it. There's no use for it. I dislike it. It's a little bit of fancy programming that doesn't help anything. Ty Cobb up there now, 0 for 4 today. Cobb rolls a 12 for a 25, and there is a little E rule. See if that one will bail him out. And, it's a 13, and so that will bail him out. It's changed to an 18, and that will be an error on pairing the shortstop that sends Schaefer over to third. And so the poor fielding now is starting to bite Cleveland. 6th error of the game from both teams combined. And Cobb is able to keep the inning alive. And now there are runners on at first and third for Schmidt, the catcher. And you better believe that with Cobb on at first base, we're going to run every chance we get. And the roll's a 46 for a 29, and that is a little comebacker over to Joss. And Joss is able to make the play throw over to first for the out, and that will do that. And so Schmidt unable to get it done for Detroit here in the top of the 11th inning. And we go on to the bottom of the 11th, and let's see if Cleveland can score. So first thing we do is we take Thomas out. We're going to have to put somebody in, not him, probably not him. We can put in Malloy. We can put in Mullen as the starter. We can put in Suggs. We can put in Seaver. Not a whole bunch of great choices. We're going to put in Suggs. Again, another problem that I have with this, and I've talked about this before, is the fact that I can't see there we go. This is where we can change the place in the field. I can't see whether the guy's pitched today or this year or not, right? I mean, all I can see are a couple of really, really basic batting statistics, and that's it. Be nice to be able to click on him and see how he's pitching, how long he's pitched for. See, he's had 3 innings pitched already, ERA of 9. The first roll by Stovall is a 45 for a 14, and that's going to be 2 balls on him. Next roll by Stovall is going to be a 35 for a 9, and that's going to be a pop fly over there to Coughlin at third, 1 away, and here's Clark. Clark rolls a 32 for a 26. That's a ground ball over to second base. Downs has it, throws to first for the out, 2 away, and it's Bill Bradley. He rolls a 52 for a 27. That's a ground ball over to Coughlin at third, makes the play and throws to first. Go to the top of the 12th. Addy Joss still out there. It's Sam Crawford, who rolls a 41 for a 28. That's a ground ball to Pairing, who throws to first for the out, 1 away. Claude Rossman now, and he rolls an 11 for a 0, and the second roll is a 62 for a 6. And so the Tigers are going to have a chance once again to potentially make something happen with Rossman on at second base. 1 out here in the top of the 12th, and we'll see what happens. This is it doesn't matter, if I'm recording the game or not. This sort of situation is the sort of situation I kind of live for. Here's Bill Coughlin now with the runner on at second, and we're going to have him bunt, and we'll try to set this up for Downs. And his roll is a 35 for a 22, and that is a error on Joss, of all people. The pitcher makes the mistake. Addy Joss, who's pitched so well today, ends up making the mistake in the field that could be the one that costs the Cleveland Naps the ball game. And so it's Coughlin now who winds up being the runner on at second base, as Joss just made a poor throw on that play, threw that one away and allowed the runner to score. And here is Red Downs now with the runner on first or second base and 1 out. Downs rolls a 55 for an 8, and that's going to be a base hit. But the runner is thrown out of the plate, and that means that there are going to be 2 away now for Suggs, as Downs is able to move his way up. We are not going to let Suggs hit for himself. Downs ends up on his second base, is what I was trying to say there. Suggs is not going to hit for himself. We're going to put in a pinch hitter. But pretty impressive bit of play there by the center fielder for Cleveland, Birmingham, making that throw. Suggs is going to come out of this game. Who do we put in? We're going to put in Jones. I think we will. We'll put in Davy Jones. Davy Jones has not had an at-bat yet this season, which means I've probably been misusing him. Here he is with a runner on second base, and he rolls a 52 for a 27, and that's going to be a little ground ball over to Bradley, the third baseman, who makes the play and throws over to first for the out. And that does it for the Tigers in the top of the 12th. And I tell you, the Tigers have done a pretty good job of getting ahead in this one. And let's see what can happen. Who are they going to put in? They're going to put in. So I look at the game started. That's what we always look at. And we want to stay away from these 3 guys who have a lot. So it's between Seaver and Malloy. And I think we probably will go with Malloy. I don't know if he's pitched at all yet or not. And so Malloy comes into this game with that grade of 5. And here is George Pairing to face against him right away. And he rolls a 53 for an 18, changed to a 22. And that's going to be an error on Malloy. Well, there's a how do you do. You hit the ball back to the pitcher, and the first thing he does is he throws it away. And so the Cleveland team has a chance here in the bottom of the 12th inning with a runner on at first base, just like that. Is the first thing that Malloy does is he throws the ball who knows where. That's why he has that one, I guess, as a pitcher. That brings up Birmingham. Pairing, of course, not very fast, and he does not have that 11, so we are not going to mess around. The question, though, I think is, do we want to bunt? And I think that we do, and so we will bunt here with Birmingham. The roll here is a 55, and that would have been a 9. Instead of being some sort of pop-up, it ends up being a good bunt. That's a bunt over to the left side. Coughlin has it, throws over to first base for the out. That is the way that you use the bunt. And so it is Birmingham who sacrifices his time at bat to get that runner moved up to second base. And now with one out, we have Bill Hinchman. And Hinchman is not a bad hitter, as you can see. Hitting only 128 this season, hasn't had the rolls. But now's the time to get the rolls. 0 for 4 today. And his roll is a 42 for a 22. And that is going to be changed to 15. And that's a little fly ball over to left field. And McIntyre's there, and he drops it. He muffs that one. And that will put runners on at first and second. And boy, this game has gone from good to better. Hinchman and the bottom of the Cleveland lineup have been able to have been able to reach base so far. And here's Addy Joss. Joss, of course, not going to hit for himself. Do we put Bemis in? Do we put Hickman in? Do we put Turner in? We're going to put in Terry Turner to hit for Joss. And he's going to swing away, and we'll see what happens. One out here, so a double play does get the Tigers out of this. And the roll is a 56 for 34. It's a good thing that we didn't have any sort of runners running. That's a pop fly over to Coughlin, the third baseman, who has it for the second out. But that brings up Clark. This is going to be Josh Clark here, the leadoff hitter. And hold on to everything. Okay, why were you not letting me rename the file? All right, we'll try this again. We will try this again, and we want to make sure that the right guy's up there because he's not. One moment, please, as I try to figure this out. I think we have Turner's card up there now. There we go. And now we can do this the right way. And so we renamed this. There we go. A lot of little issues here with Linux and with other things. Some issues with the file manager. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I really probably should think about switching to Arc so that I have, or to Arch so that I have a little bit more control over what happens. Josh Clark now up there, 2 for 4 today. Or sorry, 1 for 5 today with a caught stealing and hitting 468 this season, which is why he's hitting first. And he rolls a 35 for a 14. And that's going to be a walk. And that's the last thing in the world you want to see. Herm Malloy giving up the walk to Clark, and that'll bring up Napoleon in the bottom of the 12th inning with the bases loaded and 2 outs. And this is the time where you demonstrate that you really are the all-star that we always thought that you were. Napoleon comes up there, and of course, a great, great player, one of the all-time legends in baseball history, but he's only hitting 235, 0 for 5 today. Here's his chance, and the roll is a 32 for a 26, and that's going to be a little ground ball over to the second baseman Downs, who flips over to Schaefer, covering of the bag for the out, and Napoleon cannot get it done. Cleveland will fall to 4-8. The Tigers now improved to 6-6, and I think that they're only 1 or 2 games out of this. Boy, I don't know if I would say that was necessarily a disappointing ending or not. It is if you're a Cleveland fan. But I think we gave it the best shot that we had. Hope you enjoyed that one. I think this might be the longest NP3 game I've had on this channel so far. Talk with you tomorrow. Bye-bye.